Welcome to a blizzard. I actually like New York City during a blizzard, so long as the electricity doesn't go out. I don't mind a blizzard if you're dressed appropriately, and you don't want anybody to get hurt, right? I mean, you'd have to be crazy to be driving around in your car in the conditions today. These guys are diligently shoveling the sidewalk. Wow, gotta really love cigarettes to smoke in this cold. But this is a full-up blizzard, no doubt. They weren't lying. Good old-fashioned blizzard, although I don't know. We discussed yesterday, Jimmy Dore had that guy talking about cloud seeding, and he wasn't really talking about cloud seeding. That guy was really talking about large-scale weather modification. I mentioned Operation Popeye. I'm glad I mentioned that. Somebody left a comment that they hadn't heard about it before, but yeah, I mean, this is kind of old technology. Well, I mean, I just had icy snow blow into my throat. That's what caused me to cough. So this is for real. It's about 1 o'clock right now, and I woke up just a little before 8 a.m. and looked out the window, and it had already begun snowing. It's supposed to carry on doing this until 11 p.m., and I have no reason to believe that it won't. You can always tell, who's the smart and prepared. From Texas. Wow, look at that. With the windshield wipers sticking out. I guess that person remembers the Texas frost of last year, or maybe it was more than last year. Must have been 2 or 3 years ago. Here's a New Yorker doing the same. Maybe he saw the Texas guy. By the way, people might notice that if you watched yesterday, I didn't have full control of the technology due to the weather. But as the smartest primates, us humans, we have to use tools. So I got this at the bank, I think. This is it's a pen with a nub that lets you do the touch screen. So that's good. We have control there now. Just wanted to come out and let everybody see what is going on. It's so cold. My face is burning. I hope I'll be able to do this walk for a little while. And right now it's not super dangerous to walk around. The snow is still powdery. So with my appropriate shoes, I've got enough traction. The other problem is that might become a problem sooner than later. When snow falls on the touch screen of the phone, it makes it not work properly. So we'll see how long we can keep this up. Normally you would see the World Trade Center right down there. This person is crazy driving their car in this. 90% you're gonna crash. This is truly living up to the ghost town moniker Lewinsky. I can't easily check comments because that requires busting out another phone, which I do have with me, but let me just do one thing at a time. My face is starting to burn. It's super cold. I think it is 10 degrees or something crazy. So Zoran Mamdani says everybody's going to go to school tomorrow. I doubt it. And by the way, if you're a parent, don't you have the discretion to say, no, I think it's too dangerous. My kid is staying home today. What if the bus crashes? Maybe people in New York City don't ride the bus that much. What do you think? People going to school tomorrow?
No.
No way, right? Zoran Mamdani said no matter what, they're going to school.
No, tomorrow.
No way.
No.
This guy knows. He's shoveling sidewalks. He's seen it. Sometimes they say it's going to snow and it's no big deal. Uh-oh. No, there we go.
Just vlogging for the day. Just hanging out.
This is a lot of snow.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody's going to school tomorrow.
I don't know. It's already canceled.
Well, but Zoran, oh, it is already canceled?
Yeah.
So one day of Zoran Mamdani saying everybody's going, and then that's it.
Yeah, they're doing remote schooling.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Now they have remote school. What a drag for modern kids. It used to be, if it snowed like this, first of all your city bikes are getting buried. But it used to be, on a day like today, you could count on tomorrow going to the park, getting some, toboggan time in, a little sleigh riding. I don't know if it's really technically a toboggan. Maybe that's a New York term. It's like a roll of plastic. I think if you're in Canada, a toboggan is a whole other thing. Oh yeah, speaking of Canada, we have to discuss the law associate, or the YouTube associate at least, of irritating Canuck, Viva Fry, Barnes and Fry. Viva Fry, Barnes Law, whatever it is. It's really mostly just Barnes. Let me back up. This morning or last night, that guy Zach, I think his name is Zach DiGregorio, he's an accountant, not a lawyer, but he's actually a very smart guy. I was a little skeptical of that guy at first because it felt to me like he was coming out with some information along the lines of what Charles had found, but sort of stopping short. He's the guy, Wolves and Finance, who initially was very focused on the fact that Turning Point USA was sending money to a parking lot. And I said, no, it's not a parking lot. Obviously everybody knows this now, and he's come out and corrected it, which was good, that it was a UPS store in that shopping mall. So I want to make it clear. Zach, Wolves and Finance, he's doing some very important and very good work. And I think this video that he released this morning or last night, this is his most explosive video that I've seen. And I want to talk about it a little bit, or rather some details that perhaps he missed. I've reached out to Zach. I'd like to communicate with him. I get it. Anybody like him or me, very reluctant or skeptical, suspicious, when people contact you who you don't know. There's a lot of lunatics, and worse than lunatics, deceptive people. I don't know, if you're in communication with Zach, and if you, like me, and agree that connecting him with Charles Ortel would benefit the investigation, please send him a message. I'd like to speak to him. But anyway, the point is, he came out with a video. I did a tweet about it. People who are following me on X at JG_CSTT might have seen this. We're actually getting to some treacherous, it's going to be a lot of snow. I need to get over this little hump. So it is kind of dangerous to walk around, but not super bad yet. Anyway, I put out this tweet thread because I wanted to bring people's attention to a specific aspect of what Zach had found. Zach has received a legal threat from Turning Point USA. And, he's going to need money. He's looking for a lawyer. I can't recommend any legal strategies or any lawyers to him, other than to say he's got to be very careful about the lawyer that he selects, because if what I suspect to be happening is in fact happening to him, they're going to want to send dishonest lawyers to him to take over and destroy his case. He's got to be very careful. Again, I'm not giving him legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. That's counter lawfare advice, just from a friendly fellow social media person. So I'm sort of standing in the middle of the street here. Let me not do that. Anyway, here's my tweet thread on this subject. Basically what I'm pointing out is our friend Zach has this video. His video is right there at the top of the tweet about Turning Point alleged fraud. He says it's out of control. I agree. he points out a video that I had not seen. Gary Melton with Barnes. I don't understand why a legitimate attorney would appear with a straight-up moron like Gary, but they presented this letter that purports not only to be from then acting IRS Commissioner Scott Bessent, it's signed by him, it has corrections, like why didn't the letter get retyped? Zach points out that the corrections, in his opinion, appear to match the handwriting of U.S. President Donald Trump. That's explosive if he's correct. My question is, where the hell did stupid Gary get the letter from? Because as far as I'm aware, I don't know that this letter has been released publicly. Where did he get it? Doesn't mention it in the broadcast as far as I could hear. Now, I might be missing details.
Henrik,
I'm not perfect.
what happened, buddy? You fell?
Here we go, sledding.
Back on.
That's what you got to do on a snow day. Just build a snowman. How's the dog like the snow?
Hold on the side. Okay, there you go. Hold on like that.
Woo! Maybe not. The dog sort of lunged at me. That's a Democrat dog. I could tell. That one was like, I don't want to be on video. My dog doesn't want to be on video. And that's why the dog lunged at me, because that lady probably had negative feelings for me. But the point is, how the hell did Gary get that letter? That hasn't been posted. That's a private letter from the IRS commissioner talking about whether or not they're going to do an investigation. See, again, I'm not an attorney, and this is not legal advice. But as far as I know, Barnes is an attorney, and he should know this, I would think, because there's this little IRS, this statute here, what is it, 26 U.S. Code Section 6103 about the confidentiality of disclosures for tax returns and tax return information. It's an interesting thing to read because you'll see right here, it says that it includes disclosures about whether or not that person's taxes would come under investigation. So I didn't hear Barnes say that, hey, I represent Erica Kirk, and in the interest of full transparency, I'm speaking on her behalf to present this letter. I didn't hear him say that. It seems a little confusing. They presented it as sort of as like, I don't know, public evidence or something. You see it right there, talking about whether they're coming under investigation or not. And people will be like, oh, Jason, you were attacking Blake Bednarz, now you're attacking Gary and Barnes. I like Gary and Barnes. I'm not attacking those guys. First of all, Gary, this dog is super geared up for the cold. I like the hat. So, I mean, this is a ghost town park. I had planned to go down to Washington Square Park. That might be a little ambitious given the cold here. So we'll just keep walking around. My fingers are getting freezing. Look at this. I'm getting super covered in snow just even walking around a few minutes. But what the hell is going on in that Gary video, Paramount Tactical? Mini Mount Impractical Tactical. See, Gary is a very suspicious character because how does Barnes not know? He's on there talking about like, oh, anybody, he was insulting Zach, saying, oh, he's lying. Why would a lawyer say that? I don't know if Zach realizes this, and again, it's not legal advice, but that, to me, in my non-attorney, purely opinion capacity, seems like Barnes defamed Zach. Because even though Zach is a CPA, and in his traditional capacity, he's an accountant, you know, when he's reporting, particularly on financial news, he's a specialized type of journalist, and he earns money. He has a website, wolvesandfinance.com, where people can subscribe to him and pay him. So obviously his reputation for accuracy and honesty is an important part of his ability to earn money. And when a big social media influencer, particularly in the area of law, purporting to have expertise in tax law, comes along and says, oh, Zach is lying, the bus is still running. Not free. Another thing Zoran Mamdani said that was wrong. These people are crazy driving around. They told you not to drive around, but you didn't listen. Anyway, it just seems to me that bus is advertising the Museum of Sex. It seems to me that if Barnes says that Zach is lying, that's defamatory, because that would presume and state as a fact that Zach knew the truth and deliberately put out a falsehood. I was concerned about that when he first said, oh, they're sending money to a parking lot, but he quite quickly corrected that. So that causes me to think that he wasn't lying, he was just mistaken. And people could criticize him for being mistaken about that. It does seem sort of obvious in retrospect, but whatever. The guy just drove. Here's this movie coming out. We got to talk about that too. Trump is doing some things that are problematic, to say the least, and Zach has pointed out yet another here, if that is in fact Trump's handwriting correcting the letter. Why would that letter be sent without retyping it before Bessent signs it? But Zach corrected that error. And I mean, whatever, the guy's an accountant. He maybe is less experienced as an investigative journalist, so he's free to make mistakes. He corrected it. The fact that he corrected it causes me to think he wasn't deliberately lying. If he were deliberately lying, like somebody like George Webb, he would carry on with that lie and pivot to some other nonsense. But this guy didn't do that. Wow, here's an AI set of ads for Equinox with horses diving. We missed it. They're embracing, there it is. Bigfoot dancing, question everything. Oh man, that's an AI ad. Everybody knows I dig AI. Look, they have a Carhartt store here now. That's new. This used to be just bulbs. And it's funny because my old office was right next door to this. And if you went in there to buy anything, people would come in and be like, oh, do you sell lamps? And they were like, nah, man, read the sign. Just bulbs. And they had every kind of bulb. But I guess that's no longer a valid business. You have to buy Carhartt stuff there now. Makes sense, actually. Just bulbs. This neighborhood is too expensive. It was low rent when I moved my office in here, but then it got too expensive and I had to move over to Hell's Kitchen. But that's irrelevant right now. Zach raised some excellent points in that video. He basically is saying that if Trump in fact signed that letter, it looks like Trump is helping Turning Point USA commit fraud. That hasn't been proven. It looks like that. There could be a good explanation. See, that's the difference between what Zach is saying and what Barnes is saying. Barnes just comes right out and says, Zach lied, Zach is a fraud. That is a statement of fact. He's not saying, look, it looks to me like the guy lied. That would be a statement of opinion and not defamatory. Maybe Barnes is trying to bait Zach into a lawsuit. Again, I'm being serious when I say nothing I say here is legal advice. This is all my opinion and commentary. I'm not an attorney. I can't give Zach or anyone legal advice, but it is my opinion that Barnes is a lawfare guy. And I say that because I used to like Barnes. I even sent him my Emmys lawsuit back in, I guess, 2020. This is before I knew very much about lawfare. I was learning about it. Well, I was about to be taught about it the hard way. But this is just a cautionary tale. If Zach sees this video, anecdotal recount of my own personal experiences. I'm not stating these things as fact, but I do believe that Zach is a target of lawfare. And it's probable that that's happening because he's pointing out uncomfortable facts. So that would make sense as to why Barnes wants to say unequivocally that Zach is a fraud. I don't agree with that, but Barnes has no problem stating it as a fact. Barnes would know that that is defamatory unless he has proof that Zach lied, which would involve him knowing what Zach believed at the time that he made that statement. It's difficult to prove that kind of thing, and Barnes really should know that too. So it seems irresponsible at best, and as Zach points out in his video, Barnes at least has the appearance of being a very responsible attorney. Therefore, I arrive at the opinion that he's baiting Zach into a dangerous lawfare trap, and Zach should be careful. I think they want nothing more, the people doing potentially, anyone doing fraud wants nothing more than to bait a journalist who is exposing their fraud into a lawfare trap, because then instead of being able to spend his weekends doing research into alleged frauds, Zach would be busy meeting with attorneys, doing research for his own case, spending all his money on attorneys. His money, his resources, his time would become preoccupied with responding to stupid briefs from some potential fat jackass. Not necessarily exactly Barnes, but like Barnes, with lawfare stuff. And also the other thing that makes me think, in my pure opinion, that Barnes is a lawfare operative is that he's very tight with Rumble. And I think Rumble is a piece of shit. That's my opinion. Yeah, we're starting to have some problems with the touchscreen. And I think it's owned in part by Dan Bongino. I believe that is the case. It certainly was at some point, or at least I saw public reporting to that effect. And I just think a lot of people who thrive and succeed on Rumble are just as likely to manipulate information as YouTube or Twitter in its former incarnation. Some people would even say its current incarnation. But they're all manipulating information, and Zach might be zeroing in on exactly why that would be. Parler is among them. Candace Owens' husband was very involved in some of the management of Parler and this thing called Olympic Media, I think, that changed its name to Starboard, on the right. See that name Starboard, holy cow, this little pastry place is open. I don't think anybody is eating pastries in a friggin' blizzard, but okay. Starboard, that's interesting because, see, when I first heard about it, I wasn't thinking about port and starboard, left and right sides of a boat. Starboard is a right-leaning social media influencer kind of thing. That's why it owns Parler. That was trying to be an alternative to Twitter, whereas Rumble is trying to be an alternative to YouTube. Something else just occurred to me. I remember seeing, before Stephen Biss stroked out and lost his law license due to incapacitation, I think he should have lost it. Ooh, that's like nails going into the side of my face. He should have been determined to be incapacitated even while he was practicing. The guy's an idiot. But it just occurred to me now on this walk. Donald Trump's Trump Media and Entertainment, which is run by Devin Nunes, who I also don't trust, who's closely associated with Kash Patel, who I also don't trust. That thing uses Rumble's servers, to run its internet infrastructure. So that's not really good in that, there's this business interconnect between Trump and all that stuff. Snow blowing over there. I tell you, it's a hell of a snow day here in New York City. Oh wow, coffee is open. Oh, it's broth, soup, and coffee. So there you go. That makes sense to have that open, I guess. But yeah, oh man, the phone is getting, holy cow. Uh-oh. This might stop at any moment. Look at this. Frost accumulating. That's not going to be good. Oh boy. Got to get that off of there. Oh. Yeah. Wow. I need an icebreaker here. I think I'm accidentally activating advanced settings. We don't want that. Let's go back here to the main interface. Oh boy. Okay. Well, okay, so here, let's just go through the park and then I'm going to have to head back because I'm getting iced over here. This is extreme conditions, folks. If you enjoy the show and the walkabouts, please become a sponsor. You can do that on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. I don't know if I see anybody else doing this, going around doing these kind of live streams, tackling these complicated lawfare subjects while stupid teenagers are having high-speed snowball fights. So if you appreciate that, please become a sponsor. You can also follow me on X at JG_CSTT and subscribe there. My fingers are also getting super cold. We'll just check out the southern tip of Union Square and then I'm gonna head back home. It's just too damn cold. The other thing I was gonna say, oh yeah, no Sunday with Charles tonight. Charles Ortel, the international man of mystery, is in Calcutta, which is a city in India where feces flow like wine through the streets. But actually, I think Charles is in a fancy part of Calcutta. Obviously, Charles is, he's doing a lot of international travel, and they always say, rich or poor, it's good to have money. And I think Lou Reed said, he said, money can't buy you happiness, but you can buy a Cadillac and drive around looking for it. I don't really think Charles is a Cadillac kind of guy. Charles is more of he doesn't like to drive, he likes to be driven. You could get a Cadillac. I don't know if you can get them in India. Too big. But anyway, yeah, this is all very... this is what I wanted to say. So one of the brilliant conclusions that moron Gary and his lawfare associate Melton arrived at was, Zach can't possibly be correct because if Trump were doing the bidding of, tax cheats and nonprofit fraudsters associated with Turning Point USA, surely lunatics on the left would seize on this and do whatever to Trump. But there's a major problem with that theory, which is that they wouldn't necessarily do that. I mean, we always have these questions like, hey, why hasn't anything happened to Norm? Why hasn't anything happened to Andrew Weissman? Why hasn't anything happened to, all these people who do anything? If you follow Free State William Pope on X, he talks a lot. He, to me, is the clearinghouse for any information about January 6th. He's a very smart guy. He's been on the show. He was his own pro se defense in his criminal trial, and the charges fell apart. He didn't get pardoned by Trump. they failed to make the charges stick because he was such a good pro se litigant. Look at that. That place, Bolton's, is out of business. Not John Bolton, not to be confused with him, but it's out. Yeah, I mean, in response to this question of why the lefty lunatics wouldn't go after Trump for this, it's what Charles would call an Irish compromise. He accidentally referred to it as an Irish standoff last time, and somebody said, there's no such thing as an Irish standoff. I didn't even engage with that. It's true, but also I don't understand what the difference is between an Irish standoff, a Mexican standoff, and just a regular standoff. It's vague. Here's another thing out of business. Although that is frequently going out of business, I don't know why. We see a lot of snow removal underway. That will destroy your car if you're not lucky. Those giant, they can do that, just smash your car if you're parked on the side of the street. Oh God, it's getting worse. Wow. Yeah, this is the ice storm part of it. But anyway, what Charles means when he says the Irish compromise, no offense to any Irish viewers, it's his term, not mine. I don't even really know what it means. I've never heard of it before he said it, but I think it means you're doing something bad, we're doing something bad, let's just not say anything about it, and everybody can go on doing whatever they're doing. So in other words, in 2016, they took out Trump's, so you might say like, oh, what is Don Jr. doing working for that 1789 fund? What is Melania doing releasing a for-profit movie while Trump is president? You should not be able to do that stuff. And maybe this is why nothing is happening to the Clintons. Maybe they said, look, this is not going to go well. You can't do whatever to the Clintons. Why don't you just grift in your way and we'll grift in our way? There's somebody else said there's like $200 million or something that Turning Point has raised since Charlie Kirk was murdered. I don't know about that. I haven't seen that other than, reporting on social media. It seems plausible. They raised a lot of money. There's a natural market coming here soon. So I don't know. The providence of that letter that Gary had is very suspicious to me. And so what's up? Gary hosted Blake Bednar's, remember? And Gary came at me. Gary lied about me. Gary, during Butler, PA, told everyone that I lied, that I'm proven to be a fraud. He published a video about it. And he was talking about the laser, what I believe is a laser. Again, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not lying about it. I've explained why I think it's a laser. It persists on screen for, I think, 6 video frames. Yeah, that's right, 6 video frames, which is 1/5 of a second, dramatically longer than a muzzle flash. Remember, it was Cullen who was pushing the muzzle flash theory, and very similar to the drone. Same pattern with Cullen. This is what I didn't like and what caused me to believe that Cullen was trying to undermine and ultimately destroy my social media platform, and that he had turned to the dark side, caused me to believe that the pseudonymous malicious individual known as John Cullen is actually a contract intelligence operative, and at a certain point in our interactions, I became his contract. It might have been during Butler as I look back on it now, but it was Cullen who insisted it was a muzzle flash, told me all kinds of things about how I didn't know how iPhone cameras worked. But the dot in the window on the first floor, it's a laser. I'm very convinced of that. So then Gary went and tried to prove that using an iPhone with all his different, I forget what he had, night vision or range finders or something like that. He was like, oh, look, here, Jason's lying. Except The video that I was talking about did not come from an iPhone. It was from a Butler PD body cam. So he's not even accurately recreating the conditions to prove that I lied. And again, even if he were ultimately able to prove that my interpretation that what we're looking at there is a laser, if he could prove that that was incorrect, it's still not proof that I lied, because to this day I think it's a laser. I know it's not a muzzle flash, because a muzzle flash would last for one frame if you got it on video at all. Maybe two if it was, I don't think so, not at that frame rate. Yeah, definitely not a muzzle flash. And we've spoken about that extensively. Lee Stranahan commented on it. Quentin Tarantino commented on it. I paused right there because a lot of people have been asking me about Lee. And the truth is, I don't know his status. For the past 2 or 3 weeks, I've been texting his brother and his son, and they normally write back to me right away. And they haven't been, which has me concerned. I'll try to contact them again. But anyway, Lee spoke about it. We spoke about a video series that he released in the 90s. And I remember when he did this, that he shot on 35mm film. It was a visual effects asset reel that you could buy with explosions and bullet hits and things like that. And that was, early days. All that sort of stuff would be done with AI now and 3D rendering software in the 2010s. But what Lee was doing is he shot explosions and bullet hits on green screen and against black so that you could do chroma keys and luma keys and key that stuff into your visual effects shots. And what he was saying was it was very difficult to capture the muzzle flash. And what he described with a film camera, when you see the muzzle flash in the viewfinder, you miss it on film. And when you fire the gun and don't see the muzzle flash, that's how you know you've captured it on film, and then you mark that in your camera report as, okay, print that. Because remember, when you were shooting on film, your takes, you were very careful because it cost money to print the dailies. Anyway, I'm getting off far afield here, but the point is, Gary had no proof that I lied. Gary was making up stories to smear me, and he does that all the time. He did it again on this Charlie Kirk murder. Remember, he said, oh, there's no way an iPhone can capture a bullet. It would be a streak. I've now proven on several shoots since then, several video shoots since the Charlie Kirk murder, that you absolutely can capture a bullet midair with a standard iPhone. I've posted it on X. People can see it. I don't have it here handy right now, but if you go on X, follow me at JG_CSTT, click on the media tab, you'll see it in there. Unlike Zach, Gary did not correct his statements. So again, that makes me think Zach is an honest guy. Maybe he's not perfect, he makes mistakes, but he is quite diligent in that he comes out and corrects the mistakes. This is a real ghost town video. I like it. Not that many people around. Like I said, I was originally planning on going down to Washington Square Park, but too cold. What else has Gary lied about? So he had Blake Bednar's on there. Blake has lied about me. So, I mean, again, the question becomes it's not about attacking these individuals. My question is, why does it seem like there is a team assembled to kind of fill up social media with a particular point of view on what happened to Charlie Kirk? And it becomes especially troubling when you consider, oh wow, Look at that, 9 degrees. I told you it was cold as hell. Yeah, and when the wind blows, it's even worse. Remember when they said, hey, Trump, what do you think about Charlie Kirk being shot? And he was like, well, look at the ballroom. It's like, wait, Trump, what the hell are you talking about? I thought this guy was like a son to you. I don't know what's going on, why he would do this, but Zach pointed out that the handwriting on the letter looked like other examples of Donald Trump's handwriting. He could be right. I haven't individually investigated that. Fuck you, man. What did he say? Shut up? Everybody's, well, why? And then this takes me to what's going on in Minnesota. What the hell is going on in Minnesota with these lunatics coming on social media with their tattooed necks saying, I'm Antifa, everybody go out there and, suit up and get ready to do whatever. I was so quickly removed from Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and everything for never inciting violence. Nothing like that. Why are these accounts allowed to remain there? Why are George Webb and his brother so persistently focused, and now this menagerie of morons, including Gary, Blake Bednarz, why are they all around? Why did Barnes not, in 2020 when I sent him the Emmys lawsuit, he didn't take the case? Now there's a lot of reasons why he might not. He might have evaluated me and said Jason is not important enough. I'm only dealing with Alex Jones. Jason doesn't have enough money to pay me. Those are valid reasons. But to not even respond, he said, I'll look at it. I sent it to him. And then he blocked me. And there's been no response since then. And even if he's not going to take it on, isn't it interesting from a lawfare standpoint? Why would David Freiheit and Barnes never, ever, ever say a single word about any of the lawfare cases against me, about any of the pro se stuff that I've done as far as shutting down Signalgate, overturning with a 59E motion for reconsideration, overturning the chief judge in the U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C. Those are pretty big achievements for any attorney, let alone a pro se. Those guys don't even mention it. Could it have anything to do with them being deeply embedded in the ass of Dan Bongino and the management of Rumble, and those guys being frauds? In my opinion, that's what they are. It just seems to me that anybody who's big on Rumble is a shill. That's my opinion. The weed store is closed. That's how you know it's snowing hard. Yeah, there's like little needles poking in the face. I hope people appreciate that. I'm coming out here to show everybody the whiteout conditions. The gimbal is vibrating in a weird way. It might be just too cold. I hope that people will sponsor the show on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, or on Substack. You can go to crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com. Out of the wind there. So it's becoming even difficult to walk because the snow is getting deeper and deeper just on this one. I've been out here 45 minutes trudging. Yeah, it's like walking on the beach. Oh man, bad day for this person. Bad day to be out in the cold. I don't understand all these people who are just like parked on the street. You should have planned ahead. And I don't know what happens to these. They'll announce like, alternate side of the street parking is suspended. because they're not going to be doing street cleaning. But I don't know what happens when your car gets socked in with the snow. I ran into some viewers on the street the other day, unloading my car when I got back from the road trip. I won't share their names because sometimes people don't want, you get lunatics after you if I mention you. So see, that's what I mean. That is likely what is going to be happening to Zach. It's my opinion that George and his mentally ill brother, who now can't touch a firearm, thankfully, for the next 10 years, people might object to the law working that way with regard to the Second Amendment, but that's what the judge decided, and he's a lunatic, so I think I'm doing a public service by getting him enjoined from ever touching a firearm for the next 10 years. He's still trying to appeal that in all kinds of weird and defective ways. I don't think he's going to have too much success, largely due to him being an idiot. But that's the thing. George's brother, George had that video about me the other day. He did not remove the video. So George is inviting legal action yet again. And he seems to be doing it on behalf of Blake Bednar's. There seems to be a link. From what I see, public domain evidence causes me to believe there's some sort of business or cooperative relationship between George Webb and Douglas Bednar's, who goes by Blake. Why do all these guys use fake names? Here's more snow blowing across the street. Ha! That's great, because this guy shoots the snow from the sidewalk into the street. Then the sanitation department shows up, shoves the snow in the street onto the sidewalk, and it's this back and forth volley. Very smart. Well, it seems like the rest of today is a very good day to stay home. Oh. And like I said, so long as the electricity stays on, this is really okay. I stocked up on food, and I've got some bottles of water, and the sink and water are still working. But that's the thing, 9 degrees, who knows what's going to freeze and burst and flood and who knows what. And look at this, even it's snowing so much that even as they snow blow this street, by the time they get done with it, there's a new fresh layer. So it really gives you an idea of the pace, the rate at which this pretty dense, icy snow is falling here in New York City on the first blizzard, right? I guess this is the first blizzard of 2026. Oh man. And crossing the street is becoming a mountaineering expedition already here. It's not bad here. But that's the other thing that's going to happen is for the next couple days, we're going to have piles of chunked up, muddy, crappy snow. Here's somebody driving away. Muddy, crappy snow, chunking up, making it soup. That's why you need to be stocked up on food, because you're not even going to want to walk around, particularly if it's cold for the next few days. These will become icicle mountains. Still can't see the World Trade Center. These taxis driving around. No one wants a taxi right now. That guy's got a ski rack on the roof. Take me to Colorado. So you got to be real careful driving around. That person thought they were making a left. They're going around the world to the left. I would like to look at comments right now to see what people think about all this, but that's the question that we need to ask. How did Gary get that letter? It seems to me, as I articulated in that X thread, The only way he could have gotten it is if it was given to him by Turning Point USA. Maybe there's another way. That's the only way I can think of. It's private information. That taxpayer is the only person who can legally disclose it, as far as I understand the statute. Of course, I'm not an attorney, and this isn't legal advice, nor is it an accusation of criminal activity, but I present it to you, the viewer, to make your own determination. Use your discernment. And if you're in contact with Gary, ask him how the hell he got that letter and why he didn't disclose to his audience how he got it, because it's actually even worse for Barnes, because it seems like he's acting as an advocate or a representative or something. Seems to me that way. I don't know. I'm not accusing him of that. I'm just saying what his own public behavior causes me to think, in my pure opinion. Seems like he's advocating for Turning Point USA. And that's a dangerous thing for him to do, particularly without disclosing it to the public. I mean, what does it say about his ethics? Not good. This is the home for the blind. Definitely don't want to go out in this weather if you're blind. I guess they probably have like a cafeteria in there. I have no idea how that works, but I see blind people leaving there with the dogs all the time. There's another weed store. Is it open? You know it's bad weather when the weed store is closed. There's far fewer than there were during the height of Eric Adams and the sheriff robbing them all. I guess they lost all their money and had to go out of business. But yeah, really, if Gary and Barnes have any integrity, they got to explain to people where they got that letter from. Because I'm sure it wasn't illegally obtained. You know, if it was leaked by somebody to them, if they have a source there, I'm pretty sure that's criminal. Again, I'm not an attorney, but it's not an internal communication. That is a confidential IRS communication protected by that 26 USC, what was it, 613? Got to check the earlier portion of the video, but that's basically the wrap up for today. Snowy blizzard in New York City, whiteout conditions here. Ooh, the hot dog place is still open. People eating hot dogs in the blizzard. That's nuts. It would be nice to go all around Times Square and everything, but it's freezing, folks. So that's it. That's the tour. Have a nice day. Please become a sponsor if you aren't already. Go to subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. You can also go to crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to put together for tonight, well, there's a little more information I want on that. Let me not pitch anything that I might not be able to deliver, but I've got a sponsor exclusive show that I'm cooking, so become a sponsor. I might have to wait for a weekday for this particular office to open to get some more information, but you can also follow me on X at JG_CSTT. Subscribe there. You get sponsor exclusive content that way as well. Thanks to everybody who is sponsoring the show, and thanks for tuning in. I hope you are warm and not snowed in wherever you are.